I was asked once, quite recently, why is it that women's situation in the world is so poor, and why is it that despite all the education they have access to, and all sorts of things and quirks and advantages and easy life that they have right now, why is it that still their quality is very low? They still feel a lot self-sabotaging, and well, a lot of them seem to be nothing else but tending towards the downfall of humanity. See, things are the way they are because throughout the last thousands of years, women have been programming themselves and their children to, you know, look down on themselves. There has been a lot of ignorance that humanity has gone through, and that thing is not going to cure itself nowadays. You can give all the people in the world all the freedoms and liberties and advantages you may want. The repercussions of the past are not going to be surpassed very easily. See, the point is, women are still suffering from the past that humanity has had, because karmically speaking, it is a generational trauma that has been transmitted from one generation to another. Women have been teaching themselves silently and unfortunately, surely, that they are not worthy much of an attention or things like that. Because as humanity evolved in ignorance, as humanity became more and more comfortable, women forgot what their purpose in society is, and they became more and more comfortable. Comfort is their ultimate poison because a woman in comfort is always gonna be very money making for a sick society. Right now, it is very important, it is very profitable for the sick society we are in that women are ignorant, that women are defiant of everything, that women are kept stupid. Because if a woman is stupid, she will do nothing for society. She won't care about her children, and she will actually give birth to even more sickly children. She will become slowly and surely a downfall of society. Because in any society, a sickness begins when the feminine grace is eliminated from that society. When you look at most women, they don't know what their grace is, they don't know what being graceful and womanly is, anyways. When you look at many of the women, they still suffer from the same things that the generations hundreds of years ago suffered from. They still suffer from the same thoughts that they are not worthy of some other people's attention. They still suffer from the fact of abandonment issues. They still suffer from witches being burnt alive and such. Because, first and foremost, in any society that evolves in misery and becomes more and more comfortable, the more people forget about their responsibilities. Women usually will tend to be first. Because in ignorance, in misery, everyone will seek to become more and more comfortable. And since women always seek stability first, and then the idea of freedom, because first they need to have a family, and then as they age up, they will tend to become more um, so-called independent, let's say. The point is, if you want to rule a society, you simply reverse everything. What does corporatism and the modern society imply? That women are more and more into the idea of so-called freedom early on, and they delay the idea of having a family more and more, right? The point is, women are more fertile early on in life, not later on. It may be an exception for some women, but usually that is a point. Now, there is also a societal thing and also a reality as well that if a woman doesn't have a family and or well, let's say a family, some children up till the age of well, some say 27, some say 30, then there's definitely some problems with her. So obviously she will be looked down upon, and many people will simply call them, unfortunately, bad names. Unfortunately, well, women will be the first who will actually do that. Because in a society, when you look at men and how they are, I talk about real men, when they say something, well, they will typically be judged by society rarely based on looks and the such, but more on how well they have been doing, right? I'm talking about small groups of people, not at work and the such. But when it comes to women, women will tend, in a way, especially out of spite, to sabotage one another. they will tend to be spiteful. They will tend to show everything that they dislike, right? Treating women is actually pretty easy in a way because women by design they are very vibrant. They can't sit still because of many reasons. If a woman can't feel good in her own skin, she will not at all be at ease, and she will seek, especially through subterfuges, to show everyone that she is not at ease. She will piss you off, she'll do anything, right, to try to mark that. But first and foremost, she will never talk about that because of multiple reasons. Yes, some are simply because of the conviction that they are not worthy of other people's attention, some because of a conviction that their voice doesn't matter, some because of other such traumas, abandonments, and the such, some because simply they don't want. They like that emotional state where they are treated like trash, and it's a karmical aspect that, they feel very bad, then they become spiteful, they come themselves, and they've programmed their mind to feel bad, so they go yet again through the same cycle. It becomes their comfort zone, so then they finally find that, they can't leave that cycle, so they just go along with it, right? So this is a topic that can be discussed on for a long time. The point is, if you want to ruin a society, you have to first and foremost make men's life very miserable and make women's life very comfortable, because comfort is the poison of all conscious beings, right? When people live in too much comfort, they become very placid. They become very submissive, right? And a sick society will always do things like that. It's a cyclical thing. It will give you a lot of pseudo freedom, and then it will slowly and surely pull them away, but so slowly that people will get used to no longer having those rights. And people, especially stupid people, will always argue that God wants that, this wants that, that wants that. It was a thing of the past, right? Politicians of the past, people who would make political decisions in order to convince the masses, they would always use the point, God wills it. Now God is kind of forbidden because nobody wants God anymore, especially in the European Union, because Zionists cannot perceive the idea of one single God, right? They have their own gods in the name of which they have to kill people, otherwise that God of theirs will no longer like them. And apparently it's a big problem to them. So, if we are to think a bit, you create discrepancies when you create horrible life for men and comfortable life for women. Because when men no longer feel taken into account, they will simply give up that sick society because they know that tribalism exists on communion, right? And to women, it kind of doesn't matter because all that matters to them is to feel comfortable, and that is in their ignorance. When they become more aware of their senses and of their life, and they're not just sluts who seek to who seek to improve their body count and, just to pull other people down and only live their life to gossip and the such, when they become a bit more aware of their life, they become aware of one single necessity: to feel good in their own skin. If a woman feels well in her own skin, even as a man, if you know how to make her feel good, she will be loyal to that, right? Because that is the most important thing with any human being. If you can make them feel good in their own skin, if you can make them feel accepted and desired, maybe wanted, that is when they will be more or less loyal to that idea. Because what's the point of living alongside a person who apparently has everything? Maybe they don't have everything, but they like putting that persona that they have everything, right? This is the same thing with the idiocy of the modern women. They all start crying, why don't men look at them, and why don't they even give them attention? Because when you've put that stupid persona that you're independent, independent means you don't need anyone. So why would you be so stupid to say that you don't need anyone and then you ask why people don't look at you? Because if you want to live in a relationship where you don't want anything from the other person, why live in a relationship, right? A relationship means communion, first and foremost. Each has to provide something. If you don't want anything, right? If you don't want someone, because that's what independence means. Your independent means you don't want anyone else, right? You can't tell people that you're independent, but at the same time you want slaves in your life, because those two don't go well together, right? Because having slaves in life means you're dependent. You're dependent on them to do things for you. But a lot of people are too stupid to even realize the words that they're talking. The biggest problem of society is that this level of stupidity has reached a level beyond criticality. And that is a big problem in most societies. Those societies will be met with crumbling, and, well, we know from history things that may happen. May happen. So, I don't want to make the video any longer. Hopefully this video raised a bit of awareness. You're appreciated. Take care, enjoy life, and this being said, Ferenc Board signing out.